The year is 1994, and the Imola circuit in Italy is buzzing with excitement. Fans from around the world have gathered to witness the San Marino Grand Prix. The event is eagerly anticipated in the world of Formula One, cherished by both teams and fans. Its unique atmosphere is particularly heightened by the passionate Ferrari supporters, who infuse the track with an electric ambiance. It's like a high-speed carnival, full of cheers and anticipation. At the centre of it all is a Brazilian racing legend, Ayrton Senna. He's not just a driver, he's a magician on wheels. But there's another guy in the game, Michael Schumacher, a rising star from Germany. He's been tearing up the track, leaving his competitors in his dust. 2 races into the season, and he's already got a 13-point lead in the championship. It's like he's dancing with the wind, while the rest of the field struggles to catch up. However, in stark contrast, Ayrton Senna's journey so far this season has been a series of unfortunate events. His usually dominant Williams team has failed to secure even a single point. In Brazil, Senna's home turf, he spun out while trying to chase down Schumacher. This happened in lap 55, and you could practically feel his disappointment through the TV screen. And if that wasn't enough, the Pacific Grand Prix saw him wiped out in the very first corner due to an incident involving him, Mika Hakkinen and Nicola Larini. This left Williams scratching their heads, trying to unravel the mystery behind their lackluster performance. The days leading up to the Imola weekend are a whirlwind of activity. Williams' mechanics, engineers and Senna himself are deep in the trenches, working to crack the code of their underperforming car. They're tweaking and tuning, experimenting and adjusting, determined to turn their fortunes around. Senna's not just sitting back and hoping for the best. He's in the thick of it, guiding the changes with his keen insights. He knows every nuance of that car, every shiver of its engine, and every rumble of its tyres. And he's not afraid to speak up, demanding adjustments that only someone with his level of connection to the craft could understand. The car's nose gets a makeover. A nip and tuck here and there to make it more aerodynamic. The wings are raised slightly to catch the wind in just the right way. The cockpit becomes a canvas as changes are made to make it more in sync with Senna's movements. Even the steering column, the very thing that connects Senna to his mechanical beast, gets a revamp. An extension is welded on, a small adjustment that could make all the difference. They're set for the San Marino GP. Finally, the San Marino GP is here. We kick off with the Friday practice sessions. Rubens Barrichello is out there representing the Jordan team. But fate has other plans. As Barrichello pushes his car to the limit, disaster strikes. He clips a curb at a blistering 225 km per hour at the Variante Bassa chicane, and in the blink of an eye, control is lost. The impact is brutal, and his car flies in the air and lands by colliding with the tyre barrier. Barrichello is fortunate to walk away with only minor injuries. The paddock breathes a sigh of relief, grateful for the advancements in safety that spared Barrichello a much worse fate. Little do they know there's a heavy cloud of tragedy yet to cast its shadow. It's Saturday. The memory of Barrichello's escape still lingers, but the show must continue. Qualifying is on the horizon and the drivers gear up for the battle. It's a tough sport and these drivers are made of steel. They're ready to race again. They climb into their machines, trusting that their cars are built to withstand the worst. However, tragedy isn't done with Imola yet. As the clock ticks, Roland Ratzenberger takes his turn on the stage. He pushes himself, aiming for that elusive spot on the starting grid, and this is where things take a dramatic turn. Ratzenberger's car nicks a wall, damaging his front wing. But he's determined, so he decides to push through lap after lap. As Ratzenberger hits the high-speed Tamburello corner, his front wing gives up. The car careens towards the wall at nearly 200 km per hour, a heart-stopping moment. The impact is brutal, and suddenly everything goes quiet. The atmosphere is heavy with shock. In the blink of an eye, the medical team is on the scene, working swiftly. Ratzenberger is rushed to the medical center and then a hospital, but tragically, his heart gives out. The news spreads like wildfire. Formula One has lost one of its own. Sunday dawns at Imola, but there's a heaviness in the air that even the sun can't dispel. It's race day, the climax of the weekend, and the emotions are running deep. The paddock feels different today, a mix of anticipation and mourning. But the engines still rumble and the show must go on. The teams, including Roland Ratzenberger's Simtech crew, have decided to race for Roland to honour his memory with the very thing he loved most, speed. A new day, a new chance for glory, or so it seems. Senna, the enigmatic maestro, has his eyes on the prize. His instructions to his engineer are clear. No tweaks, no last-minute adjustments. He's content with how his car feels beneath him. Then comes the pre-race meeting, the usual gathering where drivers discuss strategies and concerns. With the weight of loss heavy on his shoulders, Gerhard Berger raises a concern about the pace car, an innovation freshly introduced to Formula One. Some see it as a mere gimmick, an import from American racing. But the main issue is that the pace car is slow, disrupting the tyre warming ritual. Every other driver agrees with Berger's observation, and a consensus is reached. No pace car on the formation lap. As the pre-race meeting unfolds, another incident adds to the weekend's tragedy. The Porsche Cup race, a captivating sideshow before the main event in the evening, experiences its own dose of misfortune. During this race, a collision occurs, leaving French driver Jacques Euclin with severe injuries. Nevertheless, even in the midst of these series of disasters, the drivers press on. Interviews, sponsor events, the showbiz side of racing rolls on. Then the time comes. Drivers slip into their cockpits, helmeted warriors ready to face the beast. Just before the race begins, the fans are treated to an uncommon sight. Senna takes off his helmet while seated in his car. It's an unusual sight, his face exposed to the world. It's almost like he's taking a moment to reflect, to gather his thoughts before diving into the chaos that awaits. The cars line up on the grid, each driver ready to compete for a win. The lights go out and the cars surge forward. But almost instantly, things take a dramatic turn. JJ Lehto's Benetton gets stuck on the starting line. His car becomes a sitting target as others approach at high speeds. Pedro Lami's car smashes into Lehto's, causing debris to fly into the crowd. 9 spectators are injured, some more severely than others. Also, both drivers are lucky to escape unharmed despite the mayhem. The safety car makes an appearance, only the third time since its introduction the previous season. But Senna, the speed master, isn't pleased with its pace. He tries to signal the driver to speed up, but it's a fruitless effort. Meanwhile, the F1 car's tyres and brakes cool down, affecting their performance. After 4 laps, the track is cleared and the race resumes. Engines roar back to life. Schumacher begins to close in on Senna. Lap after lap, tension builds. Then, the unthinkable happens. Senna's car, hurtling at a mind-boggling 190 miles per hour, veers off the track. It crashes into the concrete wall at 130 miles per hour. Cameras capture Senna motionless in the wreckage. A minute feels like an eternity until F1's doctor, Professor Sid Watkins, arrives. The medical helicopter lands, ready to help, and the red flag is signalled. The race restarts, a testament to the driver's determination. But the tragedies aren't over. On lap 48, another shocker. Mikel Alboretto's tyre comes loose during a pit stop, injuring mechanics. Thankfully, disaster is averted just in time. Finally, the checkered flag waves. Schumacher wins, joined on the podium by Häkkinen and Larini. The race is over. The crowd starts to thin out, and the exhilaration seems to settle. But behind the scenes, a different kind of storm is brewing. As the clock inches toward 4:30 p.m, all eyes are on Bologna Hospital. That's where Senna was taken after the crash on the track. The doctor steps up to deliver a statement. It's a punch to the gut. Senna's condition is dire. He suffered brain damage and is trapped in a profound coma. The next update is set for 6 o'clock and the world waits. 6:05 comes and the doctor returns to a crowd that's grown thicker and more anxious. He utters the words no one wants to hear. Ayrton Senna is no more. Irreparable damage, the kind that can't be undone, has claimed the racing legend. Media outlets hungry for a story searched for a villain to point fingers at, someone to blame. Conspiracies whispered in the corners suggested that Italian law should have cancelled the race after Ratzenberger's death. But his demise occurred off the track, changing the narrative. Amidst these questions, one loomed largest. What caused Senna's tragic fate? A prolonged legal battle spanning a decade aimed to answer this. In Brazil, the heartbreak echoed louder. On May 4th, Sao Paulo became a sea of 3 million strong people paying homage to their hero. Legends like Prost and Stewart stood united in sorrow, honouring a fallen icon. His tombstone bears a simple yet powerful phrase: Nada pode me separar do amor de Deus. Nothing can separate me from the love of God. Across the seas, a quieter farewell for Ratzenberger unfolded on May 7th. Following those heart-wrenching events, the FIA, the governing body of Formula One, was spurred into action. Their response was a resounding call for a new era of safety in the sport. It was a plea that carried weight, a plea that declared that no victory, no championship was worth the cost of a life. And so, change was set in motion. The landscape of Formula One underwent a profound transformation. It wasn't just a change in perspective, it was a change woven into the very fabric of the sport. Safety took centre stage. Steps were taken, precautions put into place, and a fortress of protection was erected around the drivers. Amidst the continued roar of engines and the unrelenting fierceness of competition, there now stood an unshakable commitment to safety. The track, once solely a platform for racing, became a battleground where warriors fought not just for victory, but for their own well-being. Cars were fortified, barriers were bolstered, and protocols were meticulously established to ensure that risks were kept to a minimum. The 1994 San Marino Grand Prix became a turning point in the history of motorsport. It's a chapter that reminds us that even amidst the thrill and excitement, there's a duty to safeguard the lives of those who push the boundaries of speed. So after hearing all this, what are your thoughts about this tragic weekend? Let us know what you think in the comments down below.